Yes, we do take a clip of the ticket.
We're here today. I'm Kevin Gammy. Still, or as always, we have the awesome Leanne Butterworth.
I'm over here. Hello.
See, it's awful when I don't know what side of me you're on. Queensland Social Enterprise Council.
And empathy first. Yes, that's not that. Yes.
We always know where Nathan is. How are you going, Nathan?
Good. How about yourself, Kevin?
I'm well. So, look, I think you did a good job of quashing that rumour about taking over the Brisbane West Chamber of Commerce last week. We won't talk about that again for at least another 7 days. And we've got a special guest star today of Kevin Parra. How are you, Kevin?
Well, thank you, Kev Gammy. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Now, Kevin, for his sins, he's a reformed political advisor. Would that be the right term?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a bit like the mafia. When you leave it, you try and get out, they try and pull you back in half the time. When you're finally out, you feel reborn. So getting back into it.
I thought I was out, but they dragged me back in. There you go. Famous quote. So today we've got lots of exciting. There has been so much happening over the course of the last week, Nathan. Nathan?
Yeah, there has. There has indeed. There has indeed. Yeah. So it's
Welcome, Kevin.
so if the week has taught us anything, it's that we need to continue to. Oh.
Yeah. No.
So if the week has taught us anything, we have to continue to be smart around COVID. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. I can hear you.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
I said we did do this on the news as well, so I don't feel quite so bad
Good.
anymore.
You want me to do the news or?
Yes, let's do the news. The news that is news.
Sure. Okay. So if the week has taught us anything, that we have to be smart around COVID continuously because we don't want to see what's happening down in Victoria and New South Wales jump across the border here to Queensland. So continue to wash your hands, keep your distancing, be wary of all of those sanitation and hygiene issues. And that's the way that we'll continue to fight against COVID. So keep it up. This week has thrown out some interesting stories. There was one, apparently we were going to move our southern border 7 kilometres further south and encompass all of these New South Welsh people, which, I think most Queenslanders probably would have just objected to, just given the fact that they're from New South Wales. So that was a curious one. There was a couple of good bits of news this week as well. Queensland has further become entrenched as AFL heartland somehow.
Well, we're just taking over all sport.
So all of us are going nuts for AFL teams now. For me, it's not a... Maybe it'll just be sport on every street. So, beyond that, we've got a new runway as well in Brisbane. May not measure as the biggest news, obviously, with all of the current restrictions around, but presents fantastic opportunity for a lot of businesses in and around Brisbane and across all of Queensland as well. So, so don't just rule it out. Don't just think it's a new piece of concrete. Think about it from a business point of view and the opportunities it could present and the markets it could open and the markets it could bring to you as well. Beyond that, what else is there? What else? We continue to want to hear about everyone's successes and approvals for the adaptation grants across both rounds. We want to hear all of those fantastic news stories, the businesses that get some funding, what do they do with it, how amazing they look after it out of that as well. And then it's almost ECHA time, can you believe it? Even though physical ECHA is not actually going to happen. So for all of those people that feel like they're going to miss out on some ECHA goodness, you can actually pre-order, and a lot of people don't know this, you can pre-order a strawberry sundae DIY pack. Share it with yourself, your mates, your family, your colleagues, whatever. So just
actually,
jump on the internet and do that.
No, you see, social distancing, you can't share.
You all know what I meant. I didn't mean like one lick and then pass it along. Like everyone knew what I meant when I said share. Like,
I reckon that strawberry sundae in the mail will be something special.
It's so hard to do these days, isn't it, with all the eccentricities? So look, I've got some really exciting news on some of those stories. One, my brother lives in Sydney. He was at the Crossroads and had to go and get tested. Fortunately, he's the second person I know that's been tested. The first person, negative. My brother also negative, so fantastic news on that front.
So it's 100%.
Really good news. The grants, absolutely, they are starting to move much quicker. I've had a couple of clients get that. I do think that there is some secret hidden agenda on how they're going through their order process. It isn't they're reviewing the people that came in first. I can promise you that. I do think it is they're looking at how your business fits and then what you're doing with it on that basis. So if you still haven't had a grant approval and it's still sitting there, don't despair. Definitely they are still working their way through. Everything is the good news on that. The other really great news, though, is the job trainer announcement by the federal government. And basically it's support for apprentices and traineeships around the country. They're throwing another $2 billion, or they're moving up from $500 million to $2 billion, which is absolutely sensational. I think it's very cool.
Yes.
I really love it when I get some studio interaction here. I think.
So, mate, yeah, the job trainer is going to be an interesting one. I think they're focusing on healthcare, trades, and whatnot, and they're obviously offering up training programs. I haven't read into too much of the details, so I couldn't really tell you too much. That's just off the top of my head. And I think it's about 1.5 billion they're dumping into it.
Yeah.
But as I said,
Yeah.
I don't know the full detail on it though, so I haven't had a chance to get my head around it.
So the little bit that I've read is that it is wage subsidies of up to 50% of your apprentices' wages, up to $7,000 per quarter that they're offering in relation to this, as well as covering the training costs. There's also a lot of short courses that are on offer for people to get into new career paths that are either free or at very low cost, which is an absolutely fantastic initiative there.
And the state government did that too in terms of short courses. They partnered with Go One. So that's worth jumping on. If you are a small business, there's a bunch of training on there through Go One.
So the Go One marketplace that will be and a really great opportunity for people. And that's one thing I want to continually encourage people to be thinking, that if your business has been affected and you're not fully productive, look at what you can do to be productive and to get fully productive as fast as possible. Don't just sit there going, woe is me. That's the worst thing you could do, because that's not going to make you feel good about yourself anyway. So
baby
do that.
steps. If you need to do baby steps, but just little by little, and seek help if you need help.
Baby steps is awesome.
I think for mine, I was telling Kevin Gammy that this whole crisis reminds me a bit of the Forrest Gump movie, where, the storm's coming and they're on the boat. All the other boats have stayed in port. They're not doing anything and they're getting smashed. And Gump and Lieutenant Dan go out on the boat and they face it and they come back in. They're the last ones standing. They survive the storm. Yeah. And then you get Bubblegum Factory. To me, businesses, if you stand still during the storm, you're going to get smashed. But if you start working now, collaborating, doing whatever you can to come through it, you're going to be one of those people who survived it, came out the other side. You're going to be so strong. You're going to be ready to go. I think it's just so important. You keep looking forward for little things you can do just to survive this storm. Just a train of thought.
So Ron Barton has actually shared with us that some interesting news. He's out Ipswich way, and he was saying that the Ipswich Council, if you've had a downturn of 20% or more, they're offering small businesses $1,000 to go and spend on their business. So that's fantastic news. Good to see councils getting in on the act and doing that and doing stuff. I know that I've got a call in with the Brisbane City Council about how we can help as Brisbane small business, how we can help them, how they can help Brisbane small business support the business community that we do have, which will be pretty exciting as well.
Do we know if the regional grants of the adaptation grant are fully subscribed, Nathan? Because the Brisbane Metro ones went pretty quick, and we got one of the round one ones, and it's all been acquitted and all that sort of stuff. But were there still regional ones available?
No, there's still plenty of regional money there.
Yeah, Brisbane was oversubscribed in
still plenty, about half. I think it was at 51%.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so look, I wouldn't be shocked if it drags on much longer if we see a redistribution of that. But that is not inside information in any way, shape, or form. That's just a Kevin Gammie theory.
Well, that's logic in the private sector. Doesn't always go to the public sector, unfortunately. But then again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the public sector that we're not aware of. I'm not trying to have a dig at anyone. It's a tough time. But
if you do know people out in the regional, because they might not be aware of this stuff. So send it out there, get it out there.
And that is something that I do know that our community, we've been very vocal about the support for people, and that has helped go out on the bush grapevine around the Brisbane and southeast regional area. So so Adam has just dialed in. We'll have to call him Stats Man Adam Chan. He has dialed in and gone, yep, there's still about 50, still just under 50% remaining for regional Queensland, which is fantastic. Could be time to do a road trip, gang, to help people out. The reason we've got Kevin Parra here is as our special guest star this week. He deals in all things grants.
Yeah, fun stuff.
And in dealing in all things grants, you talk to a lot of people who are really into innovation, yeah? Yeah,
we have a lot of fun, actually. So I've got one of the more fun jobs going around.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell them your major project that you're working on. I was about to, and then I thought, I might not be allowed to say that, so I won't.
We do a lot of stuff, and obviously knowing what's out there makes it a lot easier for us. So, but this is because we're doing these major things. It's enabled us to look at what's available that is out there. For example, we are constantly being approached by people who are having equity problems. So they're a bit cash flow poor at present. So rather than paying us straight up front, they're offering us equity shares in the business. And I've noticed that starting to happen more and more and more at present. And I was saying to Kevin Gammie, I think this is quite an interesting little scenario, is that you may find more businesses might start doing this with each other, where they are cash flow poor, but they just want to get through the storm. And an equity share in a company might be a good little way to get you through the other side without putting your business in peril. And it's good. It's innovative. It's thinking outside the box. And collaboration, obviously, is the other thing which I've noticed, where, a like-for-like transaction. So rather than doing a cash flow where you pay someone and they pay you and so on, it's just, mate, I need this done. What can you do for me in return? Okay, let's just do that.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the way it seems to be working. You can't always work within the box or within the boundary, so long as what you're doing is legal. That's the first thing. And most of these, in fact, all of these things that I'm talking about are legal. You should be considering them. And if you're unsure about whether you should be doing them, have a chat to your accountant or your mentor about it, and find out their thoughts and whether it's a good idea. But it certainly is becoming a lot more common. The project we're working on, it's a bit blue sky at the moment, so it's one of those things that you don't want to talk about it. But if it fails, I'll tell the story. It'll be very funny. So,
are you allowed to tell people what it is?
Just going to hold off just for a little while. Mate,
we'll invite Kevin back when he's allowed to tell us what it is, because it's a pretty exciting little project, a pretty interesting little project. Something a little bit left field, that's for sure. And particularly, with the fact that they're looking at the government supporting this particular venture, which is really, really interesting.
So Kevin, hi Kevin. When you talk about innovation, like I love that space, but I think a lot of people, when they think about innovation, they just go, "Oh, I don't have tech." So, can you define innovation for us? So, and unless it is just tech in your world, I don't know.
No, it's not just tech.
But can you
Innovation.
define innovation for us?
Yeah, so innovation is generally something that hasn't been done before. I remember a while ago, one of the companies I was with, they put in an application, and this one was a bit techy, whereby they'd worked out how to capture the methane emissions from a mine by capping the mine, and then rather than just letting that methane escape into the atmosphere and pollute the atmosphere and not be used, they worked out how to capture it and put it into a bottle and use it. Now, that's still a bit techy, but they didn't get it for that round. They had to go back and apply again and again. The ones who got it that round was a company that worked out how to put a bottle. It took fewer turns to put a bottle cap on a bottle. Now, I'm not kidding. That was the innovation that got the nod. But apparently that saved a little bit of time each time it did it, which saved, energy, and it saved this and it saved that. But it was something like, instead of taking 7 turns to put the bottle cap on, it would only take 3 turns.
They've been doing that with beer forever.
Sorry?
They've been doing that with beer forever.
I know, mate. All I can tell you is, so innovation is essentially, I guess the way you've got to look at it, one of my business partners, Zach, put it very succinctly to one of our clients. He said that you got to look at your business like it's a shoebox. Everyone's got shoes and everyone's got a shoebox. How is your shoebox different? And if your shoebox is like everybody else's, then you haven't got anything innovative. So what are you putting in your shoebox that's different? And it can't just be we're selling our stuff cheaper or whatnot. It's got to be something really different. So innovation could be coming up with a new way of calculating hours, the workers' pay or something like that. It doesn't have to focus on technology though. It's just something that's going to be new, different, and will improve the industry. And ideally, if you're going for a grant, what they want to look at as well is how it will add to the local economy in the area, be it the state or the local level, and will it also be creating jobs? Yeah. That's a big thing. And if you want to even tap the can a little bit harder, you've got to look to the regional areas. This is where the government, both state and federal, are looking. They're wanting to create jobs in the regions at the moment. So, but there's one final golden rule with all things grants is you never try and fit your business to get a grant. So if you have to change your business to get a grant, you're probably going to end up losing money long term. So the best thing you can do is, if you fit into that space, have a chat to somebody. I mean, having a conversation with somebody costs nothing. And for these smaller grants, you probably don't need a grant writer or somebody who knows what they're doing. They'll probably just talk you through it. So don't be afraid to have a chat and reach out. But if you're looking at doing something big, and there are some wonderful big grants out there which you can tap into, or loan schemes. The federal government has a North Australia Infrastructure Fund, which is designed for common user infrastructure. Lovely little motorbike in the background there.
I'm hoping it was a motorbike anyway.
And this fund, there are people getting, I think the highest amount I've seen awarded so far has been 400 million. And the lowest amount I've seen awarded out has been, I think, about $5 million. Okay. So there's a big scope there. And then you have your smaller funds, Jobs and Regional Growth Fund, and so on.
Yeah. So what program was that I can go and get $5 million from?
North Australia Infrastructure Fund. But some of the prerequisites for it, you need to have common user infrastructure as a central focus. And you generally need to be looking at doing whatever you're doing, say from Gladstone up. So anything below Gladstone would probably be ruled out, because once again, it's about creating an industry and long-term jobs for the northern region of Australia.
Okay, so Brisbane small business, we're moving north of Gladstone.
And building stuff.
And then on top of that, if you're doing that, you'll be eligible for state government grants too. So there's a lot of fun stuff in that area.
It's also like the Ignite Ideas grant, that round 6, what date is it today? 17th. So round 7 closed yesterday.
That's right.
Round 6, they only gave like 6 or 8 grants out of what was meant to be 30 or 40 grants. And so it's, as much as it's good to look at what people have done in the past, the goalposts feel like they're always changing. But if you can keep to that, staying true to what it is that you're doing, making sure you've got good structures, good governance, and making sure that all your ducks are in a row, and not taking it personally, and learning from the feedback, and just going again and going again and going again, making sure. So I didn't apply for round 7 because I went, I don't know that I fit this time, but we'll look next time.
Did you get round 6 or?
I missed it by that much.
Oh, see, there's a golden rule with grants too, that if you miss out on one round, you're better off going the next round straight away.
Yeah.
Because you're more likely to get it the second time you apply.
Yeah, it didn't fit.
Otherwise, you just go back to the bottom of the list, you see.
Well, if you go through a few times, eventually they'll go, well, they've been persistent. They keep making changes as we recommend. Now they fit.
Yeah, no, the changes that they recommended weren't possible in this environment. So it's all right. That's all right.
Good on you. You did it's spot on. You can't do anything that's going to hurt your business. That's brilliant. We recommend to all our clients, don't do it. If you've got to change your business and it's going to hurt you, just don't do it. It's not worth it in the long run. But the reason why round 6 and the whole thing is, look, I think all levels of government are doing a great job, except in Victoria, of managing this COVID. So, what's that? Well, is that meme on the internet at the moment? All the governments around Australia, it's a bit like Spice Girls. Everyone's doing a good job except Victoria.
She's ruining it for everybody.
Yeah, Victoria's ruining it for everyone. But it's an interesting thing. So round 6, the part of the reason why they had to cut that short was because they hadn't been able to put out a budget this year. The departments weren't sure about their funding levels for the next 12 months after that, or whether they'd still be operating or what the government wanted to do. So they're kind of stuck in that holding pattern. It's also why a lot of these grants have closed down and haven't reopened just yet, because they're still trying to work out where that money's coming from. Will it still be operating? Will it be happening? And it's a tough show. So I'm loath to criticise any governments except Victoria about how they're handling this, because it really is, once in a generation stuff.
Yeah, I think also it's broadening the scope and really doing your research as well. And I mean, I just recently got a grant. It hasn't started yet, but I recently got a grant from a Brisbane company who's doing community outreach, who said, hey, we want to find people who are doing really good stuff in this space and support them. So I applied for that, and I'm so excited about it. But it's not a state government. I didn't qualify for that. It's not federal. It's not anything. It's local, and it's getting the word out and keeping your ear to the ground and using your networks to go, okay, what's happening in that space? And then, just having a crack.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really interesting point. So there are so many different, I have put a link in so people can put it into government assistance site to find out, are there any grants that you might be available to apply for? It's a federal government site, and they actually link into all of the different states, and you put in your postcode and what sort of business that you've got, and what you're looking to spend the money on, and all that sort of stuff, and they will go and do the hunting for you. Unfortunately, it doesn't come up everywhere. It doesn't come up on the Facebook on the pages, so we'll have to go and put that in manually for them, which is really interesting. So the government is looking to support business at this time. That's the one thing we've got to remember, is that governments aren't there trying to get in the way of business. They're not there trying to slow business down. They're trying to accelerate business, and they're trying to create employment opportunities as best they can. Do they always do it how we would do it? Not at all. But does that mean that they're not doing it? No, it just means that they're doing it differently. So let's please accept that. It doesn't mean that we can't take the fight to them if we believe that there is a fight to be taken to them. So let's keep up that good fight as well.
But like you said, their priorities are employment, because by employment they get more taxes. And if what you're doing is hugely innovative, but you're not creating jobs and it's not scalable, then it's an awesome idea, but it's just not in alignment with that particular grant.
That's right.
that's the thing. Grants are all about aligning to public policy, and that's where using people like Kevin and the Australian Strategic Advisory is really awesome, because with the backgrounds they've got, they actually understand why the grant is there first, so they can help you understand how you are fulfilling that public policy need.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because as well can be, I don't think this one's for you, and that saves you a heap of time and money in applying. Like, that's worthwhile advice.
yeah, we talk a lot of clients out of going for grants, actually.
All
I
right.
mean, that's just common sense. You don't want to send somebody down the wrong path. You know, it's they'll never forgive you, and you'd feel like pretty bad yourself anyway. You're better off if the other thing is the government doesn't like us putting the wrong people forward for grants either. So we like to make sure that if we're going to put someone forward, they're a good chance of getting those grants. So it's very, very important. But, you know, you definitely should have a look around. There is no harm in having a look around and finding out if you fit. You know, probably for every 10 people who approach me, we only put forward one. So just to give you an idea, there are plenty out there who'll put everybody forward all the time and do a shotgun approach. We like to make sure all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle will fit and will work in the end before we do it.
So, Kevin, I've approached you 9 times. Does that mean next time I've got far more chance?
Well, maybe you're helping out the odds a bit there, mate. Maybe everyone else we're putting forward, and we're just saying no.
Oh, maybe I'm just building up the numbers so that other people have got. Hey, whoever approaches Kevin next has got a really awesome chance. The other thing I really want to talk to people about today, really want to highlight for people today is, and it was an issue that came up for me about 3 weeks ago, is the whole social enterprise stuff. One of the things that this show has been really awesome at is opening, hopefully other people's eyes, but definitely mine, to the world of social enterprise. One thing that and I'm learning more and more how little I know about social enterprise, even from what social enterprise is, which Leanne kind of snickers at and goes, oh my God, Kevin, how could you miss that?
No. So there was a social enterprise grant last year too. So I only learned what social enterprise was. I went back to uni in 2018 to do a non-profit and philanthropy degree, and social enterprise was part of that. I went, oh, I found my people. And so through social enterprise, I've now it's become my world a little bit. But ultimately, in a nutshell, social enterprises exist to solve a social, environmental, cultural problem. And you can find all of those problems there, what's called the SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations. So there's a list of problems there that they're trying to solve. And you go, okay, I'm interested in solving that problem. In order to solve that problem, I have a business. That business makes money by selling something predominantly. So you think about the big guys. Who gives a crap? They're trying to solve toilets and sanitation. They do that by selling toilet paper to the consumer. Trade mental health in the trades, they do that by selling shirts. So it can be for-profit, non-profit. Australia doesn't have a social enterprise legal model in and of itself, although that may change. But some social enterprises are non-profits. So they still do get a little bit of money through fundraising and grants and donations. And some social enterprises are for-profit businesses, but the over 50% of their profits go back into the mission. They go back into solving that problem that they've identified. So it might be homelessness, it might be mental health, it might be bees, it might be like employment for homeless people, which is like training last week, and they do that by making and selling vases. It might be giving people with a history of mental illness and like the hard to employ, salt of the earth people who are really struggling, giving them an opportunity for employment. That's Jobs Social Enterprise. Vanguard Laundries in Toowoomba. That's why they exist. They didn't go, hey, I have a laundry, let's employ some people. It was, we need employment opportunities for people. What can we do? Where are the opportunities? How do we create a business to solve this problem? So that's social enterprise in a nutshell. It's a trade-based business. So you might sell products, you might sell services. Some people sell over here. They've got a lovely normal business over here, and then they offer it cheap to non-profits or social enterprises and that sort of a. So there's about 13 different models of social enterprise.
Is there a list that people can search for to find out who's a social enterprise, and is there a database of that somewhere?
Kind of, sort of. So the first thing is social enterprise certification in Australia is governed by social traders. So you can apply as a social enterprise to get social trader certification. So you can do that. The second thing is sometimes we don't qualify for that because we don't have the right structures. Like I'm a social enterprise, but I'm not certified because I'm a sole trader.
Yeah.
The other way is to go onto the QSEC website, which is the Queensland Social Enterprise Council, and that has a database of social enterprises who have registered with QSEC. So if they haven't become a member yet, then they're not in the directory. So there's not a standalone directory of, but that's what QSEC are trying to build, is go, okay, because we've got this whole new project coming up of going, okay, here's all the social enterprises in Queensland. Here's what they do. Here's who's social traders certified. Here's which of the SDGs they're working towards. And that's the project that I'm working on at the moment, is creating that and then creating a showcase of going, wow, I can buy jewelry, social enterprise jewelry. I can buy a vase. I can engage a social enterprise web designer who, like Green Fox, social enterprise graphic design company that engages men who are incarcerated to do their work so that they're upskilling them and then employing them on the outside. Like, that's massive. So yeah,
how are the social enterprises coping then during COVID, do you think, compared, say, to a private sector business in general?
Depends. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because some of them have had their demand increase.
Yeah.
So Food Connect, let's say. Food Connect, Salisbury local food. And when Woolworths started shutting down, people were like, oh, I don't want food from a distance, I want local. Their business expanded because everybody wanted these local food boxes. So there's those that have expanded. Some people have, like, face-to-face stuff, have had to pivot. And some people have just put, so we sort of use a boat analogy as well. We went, you're either up on blocks, you've done a pivot, or you're full steam ahead. And we've actually started collecting stories of social enterprises. So it's QSEC's website, stories of COVID, of what social enterprises are doing through this time. So Nunda Co-op had to close their doors for a little while.
I wasn't aware of that, actually. Yeah. Nunda Co-op's down the road from me.
Yeah, and they had, I mean, that's what we were told. They had to close their doors for a little while. I don't know if they've reopened yet, but cafes had to close. And so the flow-on effect of that is then the people who are employed by these cafes, yeah, they're kind of at a bit of a loss. So yeah.
Are you finding it's quite collaborative, the social enterprise, or is it a bit like Hunger Games, like
No,
we're competing for the same dollar?
Very collaborative, and we're trying to make it more so. We're trying to make it more so. But yeah, it's a very collaborative space. It's a lovely network of people who we don't find we're in competition with each other, because everybody's so unique. And everybody has this mission at heart. So if two enterprises have the same mission, then they tend to get along really well, because very rarely are they trying to sell the same product into the same market to solve the same problem. So there is collaboration between somebody who's doing something in North Queensland and someone who's doing something in Brisbane.
So what would you think, what would social enterprises need, say, in order to be able to keep functioning the way they are and performing these services. Because I'm mindful that a lot of the services they performed are as you said, keeping people off the streets. They're getting them back into the community, getting them working, preventing them from going back to jail sometimes, or maybe just giving them a reason to live another day.
That's a massive part of what a lot of social enterprises do. And we actually have done a couple of studies on that at QSEC and some of our partners as well. And it's things like additional funding, legal structures, mentorship. So we now have a mentorship program through Queensland Government. They've now got a social enterprise specific mentorship stream. But it's access to funding, because a lot of people, they slip under the radar. They don't make over 75 yet, or they don't employ staff, or they employ contractors and not staff. But yeah, so they're the gaps that we're trying to fill.
What would be one thing that you'd love the government to change to make your lives easier?
Access to funding.
All right. Any government people out there, you hear that? Access to funding.
Yeah.
Get on it. So,
absolutely. Because there's also, we save so much money. I mean, you look at Work Restart, who are keeping guys out of jail, training them up inside, keeping them out of jail. It costs $110,000 per inmate per year. And their recidivism, instead of being 46%, is sitting at between 4 and 7%. They are saving so much money for the government and get virtually no funding.
where does most of their funding come from for social enterprise?
Work Restart in particular, it's coming from the businesses that they're associated with, who are bringing business and training into the prison.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're very lots of ingenuity in what we do, lots of network.
I would love to see an economic paper demonstrating the economic benefits of what you guys are doing and showing how it's saving money for the states. And I think that might be a strong, that might be the bit of evidence that you can use then to say, you know what, if you give us even more, we can save you even more. Yeah. Every time you give us $1, we're going to save you $2.
So that research, I don't know if it's being done, but if it is, we can find the people who are doing it.
If it's not being done, it might be worth touching base with one of the universities and asking them to make that a thesis for one of their, doctorate students in economics.
Yeah, well, we've got Eunice, CQU, and Griffith. CQU, yeah, all on the books.
Wow. Sorry, Kev, got carried away.
People found out a whole lot more just because you were curious. So that's fantastic news. That's awesome. We've actually gone over time because we were talking about so many different interesting things today, which is fantastic. We've been talking about grants. We've been talking about social enterprise. We've been talking about lots of news that is, and the fact that the government have the $2 billion job trainer for people who are retraining and things. We've had some exciting news by Nathan. And there's always one last thing that we finish with, Nathan.
Is he frozen?
Is it? What's that?
I thought that was it.
Oh, come on. You ask this every week. You come on. You know you've got one little job to do.
I don't have one. I don't have one at all, honestly.
He's run out of time today. So, Leanne, do you have a nice little joke for us today?
That depends. Have I told you about the magic tractor before? That's the only one I have.
You told us about which one before?
Have I ever told you about the magic tractor?
No.
It drove down the road and turned into a field.
Boom.
There you go.
I'm really glad you encouraged me.
So, and that's really, really appropriate today, because we have been talking about different things and different ways for you to look at your business to make sure that you can position your business in the best possible light going forward. The one thing I want to encourage people to do is to look at how they can create value for each other in this process. Look at how you can support others, how they can support you, resist the temptation to go, oh, it's a contra. We don't have to bill each other, because then there's a lack of appreciation for the value that you both are creating for each other, and a tendency to put the work that you're doing for each other to the end of the day, which shouldn't be happening. It should be you're both each other's client. This is really exciting. There's value being created there for both of you, and let's do that. I want to really encourage everyone this week to think about what they can do differently in their business and in working on their business to create even greater value for their clients, for their families, and to be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. Survive the storm.
Yeah.
Survive the storm.
Absolutely. Look, the storm isn't ended, but I do believe that if we band together, we're going to be much stronger and able to resist the storm that is there. So let's think about how we can help each other out.
Yeah, be like Forrest Gump. Bubba Gump.
Jump on that fishing boat and work your butt off. Absolutely. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll all catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.